Are you at all hopeful that anything can be done to slow down the pace and acceleration of AI?
Okay, there's two issues. One is, can you slow it down?
Yeah.
And the other is, can you make it so it will be safe in the end? It won't wipe us all out. I don't believe we're going to slow it down.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't believe we're going to slow it down is because there's competition between countries and competition between companies within a country. And all of that is making it go faster and faster. And if the US slowed it down, China wouldn't slow it down.
There's something quite haunting about the guy that made and was the main force behind GPT-2, which led rise to this whole revolution, left the company because of safety reasons. He knows something that I don't know.
I'm fairly sure the company had indicated that it would use a significant fraction of its resources of the compute time for doing safety research. And then it reduced that fraction. I think that's one of the things that happened.
Yeah, that was reported publicly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So the next one is joblessness.
Yeah.
In the past, new technologies have come in which didn't lead to joblessness. New jobs were created. So the classic example people use is automatic teller machines. When automatic teller machines came in, a lot of bank tellers didn't lose their jobs. They just got to do more interesting things. But here, I think this is more like when they got machines in the Industrial Revolution, and you can't have a job digging ditches now because a machine can dig ditches much better than you can. And I think for mundane intellectual labor, AI is just going to replace everybody. Now, it may well be in the form of you have fewer people using AI assistants. So it's a combination of a person and an AI assistant are now doing the work that 10 people could do previously.
People say that it will create new jobs, though, so we'll be fine.
Yes, and that's been the case for other technologies, but this is a very different kind of technology. If it can do all mundane human intellectual labor, then what new jobs is it going to create? You'd have to be very skilled to have a job that it couldn't just do. So I don't think they're right. I think you can try and generalize from other technologies that have come in, like computers or automatic teller machines, but I think this is different. In other jobs, like in healthcare, they're much more elastic. So if you could make doctors 5 times as efficient, we could all have 5 times as much healthcare for the same price. And that would be great. There's almost no limit to how much healthcare people can absorb. They always want more healthcare if there's no cost to it. There are jobs where you can make a person with an AI assistant much more efficient, and you won't lead to less people because you'll just have much more of that being done. But most jobs, I think, are not like that.
So what do we end up doing in such a world?
Well, if they work for us, we end up getting lots of goods and services for not much effort. So the nice scenario is, imagine a company with a CEO who is very dumb, probably the son of the former CEO, and he has an executive assistant who's very smart, and he says, I think we should do this. And the executive assistant makes it all work. The CEO feels great. He doesn't understand that he's not really in control. And in some sense, he is in control. He suggests what the company should do. She just makes it all work. Everything's great. That's the good scenario.
And the bad scenario?
The bad scenario is she thinks, why do we need him?
Last month, on the deadliest night in Gaza since the fragile ceasefire had taken hold, Mohammed Maruf and his wife and daughter were preparing to leave the enclave for the first time.
أنا بنتي الطفلة ميرا بتعاني من فشل في نخاع العظم منذ الولادة.
He had applied 6 months earlier to get Mira on a rare medical evacuation flight, one of the few ways out of Gaza. Now, along with 9 other patients and their family members, they were getting out, taken by bus to an airport in Israel.
أنا والله الشعور إني تركت غزة بين الحزن والفرح. الحزن إني تركت أهلي وإخواني في غزة. تركت غزة من أجل إني أعالج بنتي وحيدتي تزرع نخاع وتنتهي المعاناة معها وتعيش مثل باقي الأطفال.
These spots are hard to get. When medical treatment is not available inside Gaza, a doctor can refer patients to the World Health Organization. Israeli authorities screen every case before departure, and a host country must agree to provide treatment. The WHO said it has evacuated nearly 3,000 patients from Gaza since July 2024. It said more than 16,000 are still waiting. Finding countries to accept patients has been one of the holdups. Romania uses its own military planes to transport patients not just to Romania, but also to other countries in Europe.
We've done 10 missions and brought in 108 patients and 271 companions. Of these, in Romania, we kept 52 patients and 136 companions.
The Maroufs will stay in a government-run shelter with other new arrivals.
في حال حصولنا على الإقامات والأوراق الرسمية بإمكاننا العمل بحرية، يعني أي شيء للمستقبل بيكون مفتوح.
That Mira has both of her parents with her in Romania is a rare exception, only because one will be needed as a bone marrow donor. Most evacuees must make a terrible choice. When Zainab Abu Taha came in March, seeking surgery for one of her daughters, she had to leave her husband and 3 other daughters behind.
أنا سايبة نصي هناك، روحي حياتي، يعني بناتي حياتي ما ضلش كلام، ما بقدر أسيبها.
Patients are meant to come for treatment and then return home. But it's unclear when and if they'll be able to return at all. Zainab is caught between her life here and there. She's planning the wedding of her daughter back in Gaza.
واسمع المفروض في خان يونس لأن كل قرايبك وحبايبك في خان يونس.
While beginning to question if she'll ever go back.
النت عندكم بقطع مش سامعة ولا حاجة.
She's applied to bring the rest of her family to Romania.
لما جوزي وبنتي يكونوا عندي ممكن أنا أتأقلم وأعيش هنا. هو لو صار إعمار وغزة ترجع زي ما كانت أنا أول واحدة حرجع غزة. غزة ما فيها حياة، بيتي راح.
In 1997, a 23-year-old woman named Julia Butterfly Hill climbed 180 feet into the arms of a 1,000-year-old redwood and didn't come down for 738 days. This is the story of how one person's courage changed the fate of an ancient forest.
Like the first day we were up here, and the attack happened on the tree, and they just instantaneously started cutting. I cried a lot that day. I cried a lot every day.
It began with a near-death experience. At 22, Julia survived a horrific car crash. Doctors said she'd never walk properly again. But as she recovered, she asked herself, if I'd died that day, what would my life have meant? Her answer led her to Northern California, where logging companies were erasing ancient redwoods. One tree named Luna was marked for death. Julia decided to become her voice.
When I was talking to her one day, it was like I felt it, and I wrote about it, and I said, a tree, a life so many years gone by, history bound in each new ring and every scar. I lay nestled in her arms. I listen to all she has to say. She speaks to me through my bare feet, my hands. She speaks to me on the wind and in the rain, telling me stories born long before my time. Wisdom as only ancient elders know. Truths passed to me through nature's perfect lips. She cries, her overwhelming grief sap that clings to me, to my soul. I wrap my arms around her, offering the only solace that I know. Giving myself is the only gift I have to give. A pitiful offering to a goddess such as this, but of myself, it is all that I have to give.
On December 10th, 1997, Julia ascended Luna with a 6-by-8-foot platform and a determination to save her. Pacific Lumber Company disagreed. They clear-cut everything around her. Luna became an island in a wasteland. For Julia, it meant no shade from summer sun, no shelter from winter storms. She faced extreme weather, physical isolation, and psychological challenges. Loggers blasted air horns at night and even deployed helicopters to deny her sleep and intimidate her. But Julia wasn't just surviving, she was outsmarting them. With a solar-powered phone, she called reporters daily. "I'm a human bridge," she told CNN, "between the disconnected modern world and these ancient beings." The world listened. School kids sent letters, celebrities donated supplies, Pacific Lumber's stock price tanked as outrage grew.
I think if loggers and environmentalists could get together, we could have an incredible team, because you have knowledge that we don't have and we have knowledge that you don't have.
Julia knew saving Luna wasn't enough. Clear-cutting had caused deadly mudslides. Her demands grew: protect Luna's grove and compensate these communities. After 11 failed negotiations, the company caved. Luna got a 200-foot buffer zone. $50,000 went to Humboldt County. Julia descended on day 738, her legs so weak she had to relearn walking.
I felt the way the tree was just rocking around and twisting and turning. She still feels really solid. I mean, like massively solid. It's just these small branches that we're connected to. We're also like throwing a different element into nature's way of dealing with things up here.
Today, Luna still grows, her scars healed into bark. Julia founded the Circle of Life Foundation, proving that courage isn't a grand gesture, but the daily choice to stay. Julia's story is a testament to the power of individual action. What will you do to protect our planet's natural wonders?
That day I was out climbing amongst the trees, and the red that I saw was coming from the stumps. And it looked like the trees were bleeding. And I started crying. And I started crying a lot.
President Trump appeared at odds with the U.S. intelligence community after saying Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman knew nothing about the 2018 murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The president's comments came after a reporter asked about the murder during the Saudi leader's visit to the White House yesterday.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen, but he knew nothing about it.
Let's now discuss the visit from the Saudi Crown Prince with CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand, who is at the White House. Good morning, Natalie. What more can you tell us about this visit and the reaction specifically to those comments by the president?
Yeah, good morning, Errol. And this was the Crown Prince's first visit to the United States since the 2018 murder of journalist and human rights activist Jamal Khashoggi. You heard the president come to the defense of Mohammed bin Salman. That is despite an assessment by the CIA during the first Trump administration, which assessed that MBS ordered the killing. Another assessment released in 2021 by the Director of National Intelligence also assessed that MBS approved the operation. Now, when asked about that in the Oval Office yesterday by reporters, the Crown Prince, he called it painful, a huge mistake, said that Saudi Arabia has taken steps to investigate the murder. President Trump, again, defended the Crown Prince, criticized the reporter who asked the question. Now, later in the day, CBS News on The Takeout with Major Garrett spoke to Khashoggi's widow about the exchange, and here's what she had to say.
I did feel disappointed by describing my husband in this way and kind of justify the crime. There is nothing to justify the crime, even if you don't agree or like certain person because of his opinion or vision for his country. To say he's controversial and he's unlikely, it does not give anyone right to just kidnap him, torture him, kill him, and dismantle his body. Yes, and it did hurt me a lot.
And on X, she has called for a meeting with the Crown Prince, an apology, and also compensation. President Trump, meanwhile, is stressing the strong alliance with Saudi Arabia. Yesterday, late last night at the black tie dinner, even designated Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally. The president has also talked about plans for future sales of F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. That is despite concerns from some defense officials and and potential concerns from Israel, obviously another strong ally. And on that topic, President Trump also said the issue of the Abraham Accords was raised yesterday. Saudi Arabia, he would like them to join the Abraham Accords to normalize ties with Israel. Saudi Arabia, for its part, has said that it is not going to do that until there is a path for Palestinian statehood. The other big topic, business deals. Saudi Arabia committing to up to $1 trillion in investments in the U.S. And today there will be a U.S.-Saudi investment forum where President Trump is scheduled to deliver remarks this afternoon, Errol.
All right, Natalie Brand at the latest at the White House with all the latest. Thank you.
Breaking news overnight, a reporter for the Al Jazeera network was shot and killed while covering an Israeli raid in the West Bank.
We are absolutely heartbroken to learn of the killing of Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh and strongly condemn her killing, as we do the killing of journalists around the world.
To 500 million people around the world, Shireen Abu Akleh was the trusted face that they would rely on for news from the Middle East. For more than 20 years as a Palestinian-American journalist, Shireen was living the very story she was covering, the Israeli occupation of Palestine.
She was, as you say, wearing a helmet and body armor that was clearly marked as press when she was shot.
Her death sent shockwaves through the region. Thousands of people lined up to mourn her. When the funeral procession set out for the cemetery, the police in Jerusalem attacked her casket, sparking even more outrage. And because Shireen was a U.S. citizen, her death and the Israeli response created an immediate crisis for the Biden administration. One U.S. official said privately that Israel had killed Shireen twice by attacking her casket.
The thing that was, very striking right at the start of this was the way in which the public statements very clearly attempted to shift responsibility for her death onto Palestinians. The very first statement that was put out by the IDF, which creates a sort of portrayal that there was overwhelming gunfire from Palestinian militants.
Immediately following Shireen's death, Israel's then Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, blamed Palestinians for her killing and set up a narrative that Israeli soldiers would never intentionally target a journalist clearly wearing body armor labeled with press. However, there was a problem with the Israeli explanation. There were no Palestinian militants anywhere near Shireen or her team. Journalists at the scene said the fatal shots came from Israeli forces 200 meters up the road from Shireen. Within days, the Israeli narrative collapsed under the overwhelming evidence of eyewitnesses corroborated by video.
All the investigative work that went on by both the media and other agencies into this clearly showed that initial account from the IDF was not accurate.
After a few months of evading responsibility, Israel finally admitted one of their own soldiers killed Shireen. American officials said they couldn't determine if Shireen's killing was a crime without talking to the shooter. But Israel refused to cooperate. No one has been held to account. Justice has not been served. I want to know, who killed Shireen? If we don't answer this question, more journalists, more Americans, and more innocent people will be targeted and killed with impunity. So we decided we were going to find the shooter ourselves.
What I think is a thing throughout all of people is that we just have this attachment to permanence, and we have for years. And I think that the practice of land art is a really pure form of letting go. I think it's good to get people used to that idea. The best way to describe land art, I would say, is using natural materials in a natural environment. The obvious thing I feel when I'm making land art is calm and sort of detachment from all the stresses of everyday life that you have going on at home, like bills and just endless to-do lists. It actually doesn't bother me at all that my work isn't permanent. It's actually a really nice part of the process to be able to watch it disappear. I love to see the wave consume it. I think there's just a thing that's set in everyone from school. If you want to be good at art, you have to be able to draw and paint. And I don't think that's true at all. I think it's just being creative that matters. There's an endless array of ways to be creative. I do think it's better to explore more, because if you don't, you might never find this thing that you might have actually loved but you didn't realise because you didn't try it.
Today, the Indigenous Peoples Pavilion opened at COP30, where representatives from Indigenous peoples across the world sang songs, shared dances, and also shared words of empowerment and declarations. No matter the recognition, people are putting their lives on the line, and so we can use that understanding to also understand a space that was meant to be celebratory and a kickoff and have everything that we might need. And there is no lighting, there is no speakers, there is no fans, there's nothing that indicates that this was a priority from the actions that we saw today. Words were shared, songs were shared without any of the support from the logistical aspect of this space. And we carried on with what needed to be done today, and that's just a testament to how Native people even lead in the world what we're talking about that we might want to create or that is needed in the face of climate change.
This camera?
Yes, here.
Okay. Everybody wants happiness, joyfulness, peaceful world. Our 21st century will not be easy century. Fear, anger, hatred. In our mind, we created distinctions, different nationality, different color, different religion. Strong concept of we and they. Brothers and sisters of this small planet. We are same human beings. Meanwhile, global warming is a serious problem. Destruction of this planet is actually destruction of yourself. Our common responsibility should be work together to save our world. We all have this marvelous human brain. The problem is when negative emotions develop, our whole mind is taken over. So we must deal with emotions. I can change my mind. I can reduce anger, hatred. Nothing to do with religion. All religions carry the message of love, loving kindness, and tolerance. With different views, there is a possibility to synthesize new ideas. If majority of the world leaders become female, world become safer. I feel that. Compassion is the key factor. Non-violence, compassion, and self-confidence. These are key factors for happy individual, happy community, peaceful world. This century should be century of compassion, century of peace, no more bloodshed. Now time come, we should develop big we rather than we at the day. With these wings, you can fly.
Good afternoon. We are tracking breaking news at this hour. Marion County is paying up more than 2 years after a raid on the local newspaper made national headlines.
The county agreed to pay just over $3 million to settle a federal lawsuit filed by the Marion County Record's publisher. Commissioners approved the agreement Monday after discussing it in private. The money will also go to the former Marion vice mayor, 2 newspaper reporters, and an office administrator.
On top of the money, the settlement requires the county to put out a statement of regret that reads in part, quote, "This likely would not have happened if established law had been reviewed and applied prior to the execution of the warrants." Coming up tonight at 5 and 6, KSN's Peyton Steiner speaks with the paper's publisher about the settlement and what he hopes comes from it.
A couple was on a whale-watching expedition off the tip of Antarctica, checking out these killer whales, when they noticed one little penguin who was in quite the rush.
Swim, Jimmy, swim.
He's running from the killer whales. He doesn't want to end up as lunch.
That did not sound well. Oh, the penguin's still alive. Go, penguin.
That's when Jimmy makes a jump for it. He's trying to get in the boat.
It almost did. I think I got it. Oh, it's still going.
Let's try that again. Not quite. One more time. He's in. Keep swimming, little buddy.
The penguin is in the boat. He's in the boat. What do you do with him? Well, I don't know. Save him.
This penguin said, "Not today, orcas."
Yay!
This is one of 5 prisoner of war camps in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian authorities won't tell us how many POWs they have. But what we do know is that there's a mix of Russians who were captured as well as foreign nationals from third countries. And increasingly, many of those fighters have been from Africa.
A vast Kremlin-linked network of recruiters is pulling in thousands of mercenaries from across the African continent to fight and die for Russia in Ukraine. The lucky few who survive end up here, where 1 in 10 are foreign fighters, according to Ukrainian officials. But the ramifications of what's happening go far beyond this European theater of war.
The African recruits and other internationals are helping Russia increase its battlefield numbers. But that's not just a problem for Ukraine. They're leaving their homelands in such high numbers, particularly in some countries in Africa, that it's becoming a security issue there.
Cameroon. So many troops from Cameroon have joined up that the Cameroonian Defense Ministry ordered its officers to, quote, immediately take appropriate measures against desertion. All men in uniform are now banned from traveling abroad without special permission, according to this March document, which was provided to NewsHour by Atlantic Council fellow Ali Ibrahimi.
The Cameroonian government are feeling vulnerable. They're fighting on 4 fronts at least. Pirates on the coast, Central African rebels in the east, English-speaking separatists in the south, ISIS and Boko Haram that are on the march in the north of the country. They can't afford to be losing any soldiers, let alone their most skilled soldiers, let alone their special forces, who we know are going to Ukraine, they're fighting in Ukraine, and they're dying in Ukraine.
Petro Yatsenko from Ukraine's coordination headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war says that over the past few months he's seen an increase of foreign fighters at camps like this one.
We know why the Russian government is recruiting foreigners to fight in its military. They need more men. But why are these people agreeing to fight for Russia? I mean, the numbers of people being killed on the battlefield is huge.
Russia needs more and more cannon fodder. They never say the truth for these foreign mercenaries. They promise them a very big salaries. They promise them to be very far from the front line. In fact, they were thrown to the front line, to this kill zone, to the very hard conditions to survive.
Mohammed Imra, age 26, is originally from Egypt. He says an army recruiter promised him a Russian passport, but after just 3 days of fighting, he ran out of ammo and was captured, along with another mercenary from Egypt, but not before seeing his comrade die right next to him. Ukrainian military officials report a flood of mercenaries like these 2 men on the front lines in the past year, and say most don't survive more than a month. Recruited from countries such as Uganda, Kenya, Togo, and South Africa, over 1,400 citizens of 36 African states are currently fighting for Russia, according to Ukraine's foreign ministry. Russian recruiters target active duty servicemen across African countries, promising salaries 10 times what they make at home, sign-up bonuses upwards of $2,000, and even Russian passports. And in Ukraine, the number of foreign combatants keeps climbing. The vast majority of captured foreign fighters end up in legal limbo, with neither Russia nor their home countries interested in trading for them. That leaves these men stuck in prisons for months, even years. Richard Kanu is a 42-year-old former soldier from Sierra Leone who was captured after 2 weeks of fighting. That was more than a year and a half ago.
So what would you say to other young men from Africa who are thinking about coming to Russia to join the military?
Even when I'm here now, still Africans are signing contracts for Russians because for now we have no hope. We don't have someone who can plead on our behalf, how to get out of this place, and this is not the life I want to live.
But as long as there are young men from some of the world's poorest countries dreaming of escaping the life at home, there will be no shortage of men fighting someone else's war for pay. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Simon Ostrovsky in Western Ukraine.